Welcome to Teen Talk, hosted by yours truly, 334 Prevention Project Youth Council. Huge thank you to Scenic for recording today's show. Today's topic is Take Down Tobacco. We will be interviewing Caroline Bennett, who is a program associate for youth advocacy at the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. She has been with the team since November of 2019 and specializes in engagement of their 150 student youth and young adult ambassadors cohort, activation through the Takedown Tobacco Training Program and the Day of Action, and supporting youth engagement on a variety of state and federal policy change initiatives. Caroline is a graduate of George Washington University, and her previous jobs experiences include a wide variety of public health issues related to adolescent health. She is very passionate about her health education, promotion, and empowering youth to use their voices. Thank you for being here today. Our first question is, can you tell us more about the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids?
Yeah, thanks so much, Mary Catherine, and thank you to the 334 Prevention Project Youth Council for having me. The Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids really is all about advocacy and policy change related to alleviating the toll of tobacco and related health consequences in the US and around the world. This year, we are actually celebrating our 25th anniversary, and we're very excited about all the progress that we've made over the last 25 years and really highlighting that. Big part of our work is really our work directly with youth groups like this one and others. And that is, like you said in kind of the intro, specifically where my programs focus on really educating, elevating and engaging young voices on our issue and really shepherding them through the policy process and empowering them to use their voices in that process, whether it's right in their community, at the state level or at the federal level. And I really have the great privilege in my direct role to work directly with young people who want to be engaged in those issues and want to take action, which I love very much. But those are all really contributing to that main goal of the campaign of keeping the toll of tobacco low, eliminating as much as possible those risk factors related to secondhand smoke and other things. And of course, more recently, our work around flavored tobacco and e-cigarette products as well.
What are some of the ways that it's already made a positive impact on kids?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think our youth programs, certainly through our direct interface with young people all over the country and even around the world, certainly have had a very positive impact and built a really amazing movement of students who are involved in this issue and who care about it and are speaking up about it on a daily basis. I think by the numbers, the policies that we, along with our partners in other public health groups, have helped to pass over the last 25 years have led to over 30 million lives saved from tobacco-related illnesses, which is a very big number. It's hard to even wrap your head around that number sometimes when you think about it, because I just feel like one person who works for this great organization, but it is a lot of people. But unfortunately, even though for many, many years up until recently, we were seeing a very large decline in youth cigarette use, youth tobacco use of other products, that progress has now sort of been reversed by the e-cigarette epidemic, by products like Juul and other products that have really targeted kids with flavors and high nicotine levels and really sleek, kind of fun looking marketing. That has been our latest fight. And it's been so interesting to be a part of it during this time, because like I said, we really thought that the fight was almost over because combustible cigarettes had really been winding down. Young people were not using them. But we now are faced with this really continued just bad thing from the tobacco industry. And we at Tobacco Free Kids now know that the flavors of these products really are what continues to drive them. And until we have comprehensive policy solutions that will eliminate those products, the industry is always going to have a new trick up their sleeves of something else that they are going to put out there to target youth. So that is why over the last couple of years, our focus really has been on the flavored products, including menthol cigarettes, including other flavored tobacco products, not just e-cigarettes, but certainly we've seen the biggest negative impact on young people through the e-cigarette epidemic. And certainly I can say through my work, just knowing the social toll that has taken with the rise of those products on students all over the country is really just unfortunate to see. So that is really kind of the next wave of work that we're working on to make sure that progress with young people stays around.
I know I was watching the Take Down Tobacco Day of Action thing that they put out. And the way that they talked about, first of all, how much money they spend on marketing every year and the way that it was marketed and all of that stuff was really eye-opening because a lot of people don't know that it's marketed that way, or they don't know how much money people spend on the marketing each year. So
yeah, for sure. For sure.
why is it important for us as kids and community members to get involved with the state and federal policy changes?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think from our perspective, all of these policies really work together, whether it's at the school level, at the local level, state, federal, what have you. It really does all work together to create an environment where individuals, families, and communities are protected from the toll of tobacco. But unfortunately, as we have seen with the tobacco industry really being so manipulative with the way that they lobby for their products and the way that they go about those issues on their side of the house, it really is important to create strong policies at every level of that framework, because as soon as you create a policy at the state level, they're right there at the national level trying to not make it apply or creating a loophole at the state level if something gets passed locally. We have gone through some really tough fights in the last couple of years at the state level on an issue called preemption. If you've heard of it, it basically is this thing where localities and individual cities, sometimes even individual school districts, can be really prevented from making policies that would protect their communities because of things that are baked into the state level policy by the tobacco industry. So we have gone through a lot of really interesting and difficult conversations about that, because we know that the communities out there in the country and even across the world are the ones that know their citizens best and can be able to protect their citizens best. And until there is something comprehensive at the federal level, which we of course hope will happen soon, but is a much tougher fight and comes with a lot more difficult dynamics at the policy level and at the political level, we know that there is more progress to be made at this juncture at the state and local level. So we have definitely been investing a lot of time and resources there. But all of that to say, I think for individuals and young people on the ground that are looking to get involved with this issue, something going on, like I said, at as small or seemingly small of a scale as in your school or in your town definitely can have a really huge impact. So it is super important because it's at the end of the day, you're the people who are living it and are being impacted by those policies. So if you see something wrong, it is definitely super important to get involved.
Right, right. Um, are there any policies that we need to be aware of right now that are going on or that
Yeah,
have been going on that you want to share about?
yeah,
Stories?
totally. Yeah, I would love to. That's a great question. So at the national level right now, in the spring of last year, there was a bill passed in the House of Representatives in Congress that would have eliminated the sale of all flavored tobacco products at the federal level if it were to become law. That would include menthol cigarettes, all of the flavors of e-cigarettes and e-liquids, basically everything under the sun. But it wasn't passed by the Senate, so it's not the law. So right now we are trying and waiting for that policy to get reintroduced and have to go through that whole process and then some all over again. So that is one of the big things that we're watching. And you might remember, and those of you listening might remember, that in the fall of 2019, the presidential administration made an announcement that they were quote unquote clearing the market of all flavored e-cigarettes. And we thought initially that that was a really good thing, right? It sounds like a really good thing. But as it turns out, that policy, not surprisingly, had a lot of industry influence and a lot of loopholes in it that made it such that only the products that were eliminated by it were products like Juul, where it's like a pod-based system where you have to put in like that little pod nugget to go smoke your product. But anything else, anything that was a disposable, anything that had e-liquid or any other kind of open tank system was left completely unregulated. And also, unsurprisingly, even for the pod-based systems, menthol was still left as well, which we know targets communities of color very, very exacerbatingly. So that was a huge issue too. So this policy at the federal level would ideally close all of those loopholes. But like I said, it's not the law right now. So we're still working on that at the federal level. In addition, at the federal level, we have some things going on in the smoking cessation, prevention, and education space right now. We are in a year where they are potentially allocating more money to smoking prevention and education stuff at the national level. So we are obviously pushing for that. And specifically, there is a bill in the in Congress right now that's called Quit Because of COVID that really centers around providing increased resources to help people quit smoking if they want to, because we know that COVID targets the lungs and smoking also targets the lungs. So that is something that we are really working on as well. And then at the state and local level, like I mentioned, some of the preemption things are going on, and that is ongoing, and it looks a little bit different everywhere. But for states that have really deep historical ties to the tobacco industry, really deep tobacco economies, things like that, those things are a lot harder because it has been written into the state policies since the beginning of time that the industry was protected. So that has been something that's been going on. And then in addition to that, our flavors work continues at the state and local level as well, while we wait around, like I said, for the federal level to get its act together and pass something comprehensive. The local level and the state level continue to try to pass those kinds of policies that would eliminate all of the flavored products. And we have seen some success with this. Massachusetts has eliminated all of their flavored tobacco products, which has been a huge win. New Jersey eliminated all flavored e-cigarette products. So not everything, but still a step in the right direction. And there are a couple of others that have made progress at the state and local level as well. So that's like a very top line overview, but those are the different issues that are happening currently. But I definitely recommend for anyone listening to look into what is going on in your area. And I can potentially just share some links of where you can go to get that information, because it is great to see what is happening locally. And like I said, there is so much variety and everyone is really in a different spot right now. So it is really crucial, if you're looking to get involved, to make sure that you have a solid understanding of what's going on in your state or even in your city or town.
Right. Like, again, just watching the video, I learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know about it. Like the takedown tobacco. I've done the trainings and gotten the certificates and held a couple of trainings and done all of that thing. And even going through those, it was really eye-opening because they did like a timeline for what was happening through the times. And you could see where the cigarettes were going down. The kids weren't smoking it as much because they couldn't smoke. Teachers will say, yeah, we used to smoke at school. We don't do that anymore. You can't smoke at hospitals. You can't. There's a lot of places where you just can't do it. And then when they came out with e-cigarettes, it's like it just erased 20 years of work that y'all had done. And so, yeah, it's just really vital that you just stay involved with your community and that you just learn what's going on so that you're not blindsided by all of this stuff coming at you at one time. How do we, the community members, get involved with it at the state and local level? Like, how can we use our voices to speak out against it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really great question, and definitely something that my team really works on all the time for people who now, like you just said, have the information in front of them, know what's going on, and are like, okay, so what do I do now if I'm really feeling fired up? Like, what is that first step? I think the important thing to remember when we talk about advocacy and policy change, those things can sometimes sound really scary and really intimidating to people. And it seems like this really big thing, or that they have to do something really big to get involved. But I think one thing that we always really encourage people to do is just to start close to home and have a conversation with a friend, have a conversation with a family member. I know I have had some conversations with family members of mine who use tobacco even before I had this job, but when I knew that I was passionate about the issue. And that is a really good place to start, just to get in the habit of just talking about it and putting those things that you've learned into practice, hearing what others have to say, maybe going through the process of talking to somebody who doesn't agree with you about an issue and seeing kind of where that goes. I think that is a great first step. And then from there, I mean, the work that you guys are doing with 334 Prevention Project is so amazing. I think for people out there who maybe aren't a part of a group like that, kind of talking to people in your school, people in your community, maybe your local health department, to see kind of what is there with that work, because that really is where it starts, right? We don't generate advocates overnight. We need to talk about it with those around us and really building that capacity locally to have people understand that this is an issue they should care about, have young people understand that they can get involved with this and really go as far as they want with it. I mean, we have students that I work with who have started by just having a conversation with their principal, and now they have testified in front of Congress or done some state level stuff. So it really is about kind of just you starting with what is in your control and then going from there and kind of seeing where it goes. And I think with that too, it's super important to just continue asking the question that you're asking now of like, okay, I want to work on this, but who else is out there to work on it? Because we obviously at the Campaign for Tobacco Free Kids have like a large network. All of the local groups that we work with are in some way connected to each other. So we really try to foster information sharing and best practices with how young people can be involved in a more efficient and just better way. So I definitely recommend just really at every stage taking a look at those around you that are doing that work and finding opportunities to get involved with them. On that note, obviously, I think for anyone that's out there that wants to get involved in the advocacy work, the TDT online training program is also a great place to start because it really does have those skills building types of courses that will give you the skills that you need to go do those bigger things. And it will also give you some suggestions for smaller level actions that you can take right off the bat to get involved. I think right now, as you've been mentioning, Day of Action, one thing that people can do is go and sign our petition that will ask the FDA to eliminate all flavored tobacco products. So that is one thing. And I think with our resources, state groups and local groups, there's always something like that that is out there. If people don't have a ton of time but want to do something to help, they can do that. And then if they have a little bit more time, maybe you post it on your own social media or write a blog or write a letter to the editor or something like that. And then from there, we have found at least that it is much easier once you kind of get your foot in the door to access those kind of bigger actions. And then, of course, we at the campaign are always here to support people who want to get more involved but don't really know kind of where to go. That is our jobs, to equip people to kind of level their activism up to the next level. So we're definitely always here to talk to anybody who is finding themselves in that spot of like wanting to take the next step but not really sure what to do.
Amazing. Where do we find the petition app to sign? Is it just on the Takedown Tobacco website?
It is on the Takedown Tobacco website. The link is just takedowntobacco.org/petition.
Okay.
So people can access it there. If it's helpful, I will share it with you as well.
Alrighty. Thank you. On the topic of using our voices, what are some specific ways that you found are helpful if we find that a friend is struggling with tobacco or that they want to quit but they don't know how? What are some things that we can do to help them along with that?
Yeah, that's a really tough question. And I think definitely is something that people in the greater youth engagement, public health world have really continued to struggle with. Because I think we know from the perspective of young people who do use tobacco products, nobody wants to be told what to do and nobody wants to feel shamed or feel like not good about their decision that they have made. So I think on an individual level, if you personally know somebody who is using these products and you maybe want to just have a talk with them, I think really just extending that one-on-one level of like personal connection there is sometimes very helpful to just make sure they know like, hey, I'm here for you if you want to talk about this, and or if you feel comfortable talking to them a little bit about some of the health effects. I think sometimes we see young people using the products because it's fun and it's like exhilarating and maybe it's a social thing in the short term, but they aren't as educated on what the long-term impacts could be on their health or even their social life, their mental health, what have you. So maybe educating them a little bit and just giving them some facts about that. But if they are ready to quit and they want some help with that, there are also programs out there that will help them do that in a way that is totally anonymous and totally free. We have a partnership with the Truth Initiative's Text to Quit program that people can send a text to this number. The code is takedown and you just text it to the number 88709 and I'll give you this information too. But it's a really great program. It's totally free. and it's based on like a peer-to-peer type of approach. So you feel like you're talking to someone your age, someone who understands. They do check-ins with you to kind of facilitate your quitting journey. And that's a really awesome program. And then there is, of course, the National Quit Line, which is just 1-800-QUIT-NOW, and people can call to get support and just talk to folks that are also going through that same thing. But those are just a couple of resources. And I think we also know that kind of social support is really critical when somebody is trying to quit. And I think the COVID era has definitely been really challenging for folks' social support systems. So we're definitely keeping a close eye on that stuff too. Not like a recommendation per se, but just something that is good to consider as you're looking at people who you know that might be using. We know that people have had a rough go of it in the last year, and a lot of times people are using these products because they're stressed. So that is one thing too that we see a ton, and definitely want to just do everything we can to support those people and make sure that they feel supported and not, like I said, shamed or bad about that decision.
Right, yeah. Thank you. Where are there any other websites other than Takedown Tobacco that we can find you at? Is there anything else that y'all have, or is that just one size fits all, Takedown Tobacco?
Yeah, so the Takedown Tobacco site is a great place to go for sure for resources related to Day of Action. Our takingdowntobacco.org site is for the training program. Soon we're hoping to have them be on the same website so that it's less confusing for people, because we know that the names are really similar, and the programs are related. So we want them to be found like under one home, but we're not quite there yet. So you can find us on both of those websites, as well as just the general Campaign for Tobacco Free Kids website, which is just tobaccofreekids.org. That one is where you'll find things like what the policies are in your state or fact sheets about certain populations. You'll find a lot of great info there on like tobacco industry targeting of youth and other populations as well. So that's a great site. And then as well as kind of the traditional online avenues, we do definitely encourage folks to find us on social media. That has been a really great place where we've expanded a lot of our programming recently, especially in light of COVID and just everything being online all the time. So we can, I don't know if it's best for me to just read the channels now or send them to you later, but our Instagram is take_down_tobacco. We're at Tobacco Free Kids on TikTok, Takedown Tobacco on Twitter, and Takedown Tobacco on Facebook. So you can find us there as well. And all of those channels will be just really great kind of youth-centric content that we are always kind of putting resources and facts and other opportunities to get involved. So that kind of also goes back to your question about what people can do to get involved. Those places are great places to look as well, because usually we'll have some kind of action or some kind of activity that we have coming up that people can latch onto that way as well.
Perfect. I did not expect Taking Down Tobacco to have a TikTok account. That one that I expected the Facebook and the Instagram. The TikTok threw me off.
Yeah, it's new, so there's not a lot on there right now, but we're really trying to build up our presence on TikTok, because again, we know that that's where young people are, and we also know that there's been a lot of really not great activity by the tobacco industry on TikTok during COVID, of them like trying to sell vapes to underage students and stuff like that, and we've seen a ton of that stuff. So we're really trying to counter that with like our own presence on the platform. So yeah, stay tuned for more. It's a work in progress, but I'm really excited about where it's going to go.
Do you have any questions for us that you want to ask?
Yeah, I think, and sorry, I forgot to ask this actually when I was answering the question about ways to get involved and things like that, but I would love to just ask you and the other students on the call, what has been your favorite thing that you've done in your tobacco control work? And it can be anything. It doesn't have to be related to Take Down Tobacco, but I'm just curious from your guys' perspective, like what kind of activities have been the most engaging for you and the most exciting as you have been involved in this work?
Alrighty. My favorite probably, I don't know. I've always been a school person. I've loved to go to school. I've never disliked going to school. So when I went through and did the trainings, it's not just like you do one training and you're done. You do multiple trainings because there's a lot of stuff to know and they can't really fit it all into one thing. So I have always been like, I love PowerPoints. I like to watch videos and take notes on things. Like, that's what I like to do. So, probably my favorite were probably the trainings, because while I was doing the training, I had like a separate notebook that I was writing all the stuff in so that I wouldn't forget about it. Um, I liked watching the graphic videos that they had, because the graphics on the trainings were really, they made it understandable. Instead of just putting words on a PowerPoint, they had like little pictures to go with it, or videos from kids that were our age, or things like that that were really cool to see. I remember one graphic in particular. I think it was they were doing the timeline thing, and I can't remember what state it was. I want to say it was California, but I'm not positive.
Mhm.
But they were saying like they started when they found out that it caused lung cancer and all that type of thing, like, for every pack of cigarettes that they sold, they donated like $2 to the uh taking down, not taking down tobacco specifically, but like trying to stop tobacco prevention. And it may not have been that exact, that's just an analogy that they used, but it was like, forever, for so and so much money used on tobacco, we'll donate this much to preventing it, that type of thing, because they realized the bad things that it did, and they realized what kind of cancers that it held and all that type of things. But
Mhm.
my favorite has probably had to be the trainings, because I just like gathering information and type of things.
That's great.
Um, hey, okay, good. So, what I my favorite thing about these tobacco things is that I get to learn a lot more stuff, and I get to like meet like new people that like help other people out with like getting stuff under control and stuff like that.
Awesome.
I don't really know too much because I really just joined this thing, so I haven't did not that much stuff yet. But I actually have a question I didn't ask yet though.
Okay, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, so I've been seeing more and more people around my school with vape, and like people getting caught at my school with vape. And I know like some of my friends, and and I asked them, why do you what type of vape is it, and like why do you vape and stuff like that. And then they said like it's non-nicotine, and and it's like 5% only. And I was like wondering what's in those.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, first of all, we know at the campaign that some of the like early e-cigarette products that came out were initially kind of marketed and sold and as not having nicotine or tobacco in them at all, which was not true. And it also has come through in the way that those products have been regulated. And this is part of why the laws have been so slow to catch up with this issue, is because it's a little bit of a different setup than a traditional cigarette. So it's harder to really understand like who is supposed to regulate it and what. I would have to know the specific product that you're talking about to tell you what was in it. But I think we can safely say that for any vaping product like that, we pretty much know that there are chemicals and things like that that are harmful to a young body and a young brain. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what products your friends were using, but some of them have been kind of sold as low nicotine or no nicotine at all. And that is something that we're definitely watching. So yeah, it's a great question. And again, to my point earlier of the industry is always going to come up with something new, that's a perfect example of kind of the next thing. So we'll watch it. I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer, but that is a really, really good question.
Well, we thank y'all for joining, and we hope that you join us for another event we'll be having. It is the Strikeout Drugs. We will be holding it on April the 17th at Colby Bottom Fields. If anyone is looking for volunteers for the summer for any events they're having, 334 would be happy to take that on. If your organization is throwing a party, like if they're throwing their own fundraiser, we'd be happy to come and volunteer with y'all. Y'all can just get in touch with us through our social media, which is at 334th Youth Council on Facebook and Instagram. Thank y'all so much for coming, and thank you to Scenic for recording. Bye.
Bye.